Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Best English Podcast. I'm your host, Sophia, and today I am absolutely thrilled to have you join me today. If you're new to our channel, I want to say that you didn't find us by accident. You're here because you want to grow, to learn, to become a better version of yourself, and you're not alone on that journey. We share meaningful educational videos every single day because we believe that a little knowledge shared with love can truly change lives. So if you're ready to take that next step, to learn something new, to feel inspired, and to believe in your own potential, then stay with us. Subscribe and let's walk this path of growth together. One day at a time. Before we begin, I want you to take a moment and imagine something with me. Picture yourself sitting in a cozy cafe. The air smells of fresh coffee. You're with a group of new international friends, and they're laughing, sharing stories, and debating a movie they all saw last night. You're smiling and nodding. You understand most of the words, but inside, your mind is racing. You have a great opinion about that movie, a funny story you want to share, but you're frantically searching for the words, building the sentences in your head, translating, checking the grammar. And by the time you're ready, the moment has passed. The conversation has moved on. Have you ever felt that invisible wall? That gap between the smart, funny, interesting person you are in your own language and the person you can be in English? This is going to be more than just a normal episode. Think of this as a complete masterclass, a deep dive workshop designed to fundamentally change your relationship with the English language. We will explore everything you need to know with detailed stories, practical exercises, and powerful techniques you can start using immediately. This is going to be one of the most comprehensive guides you'll ever hear on this topic. So if you are truly serious about breaking through to the next level of fluency, I invite you to subscribe right now and make sure you've hit that little notification bell. This is a journey you won't want to miss a single step of. So, get comfortable, clear your mind of distractions, and open yourself up to a new way of learning. Are you ready to begin? Let's start. The very first and perhaps the most foundational concept we need to embrace is immersion. True, deep immersion. Now, when I say that word, many people immediately think of packing their bags, buying an expensive plane ticket, and moving to an English-speaking country. While that can be a fantastic experience, it is not necessary, and for most of us, not practical. The wonderful truth is that you can create a powerful, effective English immersion environment right where you are, in your own home, in your own city, within your own life. It's about making a series of small, conscious, and consistent changes to your daily routine that expose your brain to English over and over again until it starts to feel normal and familiar. Let's start with a single object you probably interact with more than any other throughout your day, your smartphone. Think about it. How many times a day do you unlock your phone, check your notifications, scroll through social media, or open an app? 50 times? 100 times? Maybe more? Each of those moments, however brief, is a golden opportunity for a tiny, effortless English lesson. I want you to seriously consider right now changing your phone system language to English. I know, that idea can feel a little intimidating. Your mind might immediately jump to the worries. What if there's an emergency? What if I can't find an important setting? What if I don't understand a notification? These are valid fears, But let me reassure you, you already know your phone inside and out. You navigate it based on muscle memory and icons, not just words. You know what the little gear icon means. You know what the camera icon looks like. You know where to tap to open your messages. Changing the language simply puts the correct English label on a function you already understand. Let me tell you a more detailed story about my friend Marco from Italy. Marco was a graphic designer, a very visual person. He was determined to become fluent in English for his work. He decided to take the plunge and switch his phone to English. He told me the first 48 hours were genuinely challenging. He would look at his screen and see cellular data, do not disturb, or wallpaper, and his brain would freeze for a second. He had to consciously stop and think, okay, what does this mean? He even kept a small notebook for the first few days and wrote down a few key terms he was struggling with. He admitted he felt a bit slow and clumsy, as if he were using a phone for the first time. But then, around day 3, something started to shift. He went to change his screen's brightness, and he found himself tapping on display and brightness without a second thought. He hadn't consciously memorized it. His brain had just started to make the connection through repetition. A week later, he was navigating his phone as quickly as he did in Italian. He wasn't translating impostazioni to settings in his mind anymore. His brain now understood that the English word settings was the direct label for the place where you change your phone's functions. This one, simple change meant that Marco was passively reading and processing English hundreds of times every single day. He was learning in the moments he used to waste, without scheduling any extra study time. It's a perfect example of how a small change in your environment can lead to massive passive learning over time. So, my first challenge to you is this. Could you try it? Maybe just for the weekend. See how it feels. It could be your first powerful step toward creating your own immersion bubble. This principle of digital immersion extends far beyond your phone's language. Think about your computer, your laptop. Change the operating system language to English. Think about the websites you visit every day. If you read the news online, try reading it from an English language source like the BBC or Reuters. Many international news sites have versions in simpler English designed for learners. What about your social media? This is a huge one. Your social media feed can be one of your greatest teachers. Consciously change who you follow. If you love cooking, don't just follow chefs from your country. Find and follow 5 English-speaking chefs on Instagram or TikTok. Watch their videos. Read their recipes in English. You'll learn vocabulary like whisk, sauté, dice, and simmer in a real visual context. Let's imagine a learner named Priya from India. Priya loved gardening. It was her passion. Her Instagram feed was full of gardening experts from her region. She decided to search for gardening accounts from the UK and the US. She started following them, and her feed was suddenly filled with English. She saw posts with words like soil, ours, seedlings, bro, pruning, row, and fertilizer. At first, she had to look up some of the words. But because she already knew so much about gardening, she could often understand the meaning from the context of the beautiful photos and videos. She was learning the English words for concepts she was already an expert in. This made the learning process feel incredibly relevant and rewarding. She wasn't just learning random vocabulary, She was learning to talk about her passion in a new language. Now, this is where we can take the idea of immersion to an even deeper level. It's not just about consuming content related to your hobbies. It's about using your passion as a powerful engine to drive your learning forward. The motivation to learn a language can go up and down, but your love for your hobby, that's a constant, powerful source of energy. Let's expand on this. Think about a young man who loves video games. He can change the game's language to English, which is a great start. But what if he takes it further? What if he joins an international gaming guild or clan that communicates in English on an app like Discord? At first, he might be shy. He might just type simple messages like hello or good game. But soon he'll want to be part of the strategy. He'll want to understand the jokes. The desire to coordinate with his teammates and celebrate a victory will force him to learn specific, useful English. He'll learn gaming slang like GG for good game, or nerf when a character is made weaker, or OP for overpowered. This isn't classroom English. This is living, breathing, functional language that he needs in that moment. His passion for the game becomes the fuel for his language learning, and he might learn more in a month of playing with his new friends than in a year of traditional study. Or consider someone who is a huge fan of a specific movie series, like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. Watching the movies in English is step one. But what about step two? What about joining an online fan community on a site like Reddit? There, they can read theories that other fans have written in English. They can try to write their own comments, debating plot points or character motivations. This pushes them from passive consumption to active creation. They might start watching video essays on YouTube where creators analyze the films in great detail. To understand these complex analyses, their listening skills have to improve. The desire to go deeper into a world they love makes the hard work of language learning feel effortless and exciting. Let's go back to Priya, our gardener. After a few months of following English-speaking accounts, she became more confident. She started leaving comments on their posts in English. Simple things at first, like "what a beautiful rose," or "thank you for the helpful tip." Then she took an even bigger step. She started her own simple gardening blog in English. She would post one picture a week of a plant in her garden and write 2 or 3 sentences about it. "This is my hibiscus plant. This week it has 3 new flowers. The color is a beautiful deep red." Oh, her English wasn't perfect, but she was actively using the language to share her passion. This act of creating, of producing language, solidified her learning in a way that passively consuming never could. Your passion is not just something to learn about in English, it is a world to participate in using English. Now, let's bring this immersion from the digital world directly into your physical space. This is a fun and surprisingly powerful technique that I mentioned before, but I want to explore it more deeply. Get a pack of sticky notes and a pen. We're going to label your world. Walk around your house and start putting English names on everything. Put a note that says door on your door, one that says window on the window, mirror on the mirror, refrigerator on the refrigerator, kettle on the kettle. Let's go back to the story of Anja from Poland, a very logical and organized person. She didn't just label 5 or 10 things. She decided to label her entire apartment. She spent a whole Saturday afternoon on it. She labeled the couch, the bookshelf, the coffee table. She went into the kitchen and labeled the microwave, the oven, the cabinets, and even the cutlery drawer. In the bathroom, she labeled the sink, the shower, the towel, and the faucet. She told me her husband, Pavel, thought she was crazy at first. He would laugh and say their apartment looked like a kindergarten classroom. But then a funny thing started to happen. Anya noticed that every time she went to get a glass of water, she would see the word faucet. When she sat down to watch TV, she'd see the word couch. The words were unavoidable. They were becoming part of her physical reality. After about a week, Pavel, who was also learning English, started to use the words. He'd say, "Anya, could you pass me the remote control?" And he would point to the note on it. They turned it into a game, quizzing each other. Anya said the biggest change was with the small, everyday objects she didn't often think about. She knew the word for table, but she never thought about the word for light switch. Now, every time she entered a dark room, she would see the note, and her brain would register, light switch. The physical object and the English name were becoming fused in her mind. She was no longer performing a mental translation from the Polish word. She was creating a new, direct neural pathway. Now let's talk about the soundscape of your life. Let's talk about what you listen to. Passive listening is one of the most incredible, low-effort, high-reward tools for training your ear and your brain. It's the process of having English audio playing in the background of your life while you do other routine things. You could be washing the dishes, driving to work, exercising at the gym, folding laundry, or even just sitting on the bus. The crucial point here is that you are not expected to sit down with a notebook and understand every single word. The goal is to get your brain accustomed to the natural rhythm, the melody, the stress, the sounds, and the intonation of spoken English. Think of a young woman named Chloe from France. She had a long, boring commute to her office job every day on the train, about 45 minutes each way. For years, she spent that time scrolling through social media or listening to the same French pop songs. It was dead time. Then she decided to reclaim that time for her English learning. She downloaded a few podcasts aimed at English learners, including one that told simple, slow-paced news stories. On her first day, she put in her headphones and pressed play. She felt a wave of anxiety. The speakers were talking, and while she could pick out words here and there, it mostly sounded like a confusing flow of sounds. She felt she was only catching maybe 50% of what was being said. She got off the train feeling a little bit discouraged, thinking, "This is too difficult for me." But Chloe was determined. She made a promise to herself to stick with it for 2 weeks. So every day, on her way to work and on her way back home, she listened. She stopped trying to understand everything. She stopped getting stressed when she missed a word. She just let the sounds of English wash over her, like listening to music in a language you don't know. After about a week, she noticed she could hear the pauses between sentences more clearly. She started to recognize the same common phrases being used again and again, like "on the other hand" or "as a result." Then, about 10 days into her experiment, something incredible happened. She was listening to an episode about travel in Southeast Asia. She was looking out the train window, not really focusing intently, just daydreaming. And suddenly she realized she had followed an entire 5-minute story about a man visiting temples in Cambodia. She understood the beginning, the middle, and the end. She hadn't been straining to listen. Her brain, through sheer repetition, had started to do the work for her. It had begun to recognize the patterns, to connect the sounds to meanings, all by itself. That breakthrough moment on the train was a huge turning point for her. It gave her a massive boost of confidence. She realized that her brain was learning even when she wasn't actively studying. So, what could you listen to? The options are endless. You can listen to podcasts on topics you already love. If you like history, find a history podcast in simple English. If you like comedy, find one that makes you laugh. Laughter is a universal language. Music is another wonderful and joyful tool. Find English songs you enjoy. Look up the lyrics online. Read the lyrics while you listen to the song a few times. Then, try to sing along. When you sing, you are practicing pronunciation, rhythm, and memorizing new vocabulary and sentence structures in a very natural, emotional way. You could also try audiobooks. Many libraries have free apps where you can borrow audiobooks. Start with books for young adults or graded readers, which use simpler language. The narrator's voice can guide you through the story, and hearing the words spoken correctly helps your own pronunciation. The point is to fill the silent, empty moments of your day with the rich and varied sounds of the English language. From the world of sound, we move naturally to the world of words on a page. Reading is a phenomenal way to build your vocabulary, see how grammar works in practice, and understand how ideas are structured in English. But just like with listening, the key to success is to start at a comfortable level. If you, as a B1 level learner, try to read a complex philosophical novel or a dense academic paper, you will become frustrated. You will feel that English is too hard, and you will give up. This is like trying to lift the heaviest weight in the gym on your first day. You need to start with something you can handle. This means finding materials that are at your level, often called level-appropriate materials. This could be news articles written specifically for learners, like those on websites such as News in Levels. It could be blogs on topics you find interesting, or it could be one of the most valuable resources for a language learner: graded readers. These are books, often famous stories or simplified novels, that have been rewritten for different levels of English proficiency. You can find them for beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels. Here is the single most important tip for reading to help you think in English. As much as possible, try not to translate in your head. Instead of converting the English words into your native language, try to convert them into mental images. You must try to visualize. If you read the sentence, "The old wooden boat drifted slowly across the calm blue lake." Don't try to translate "old wooden boat" or "calm blue lake" into your language. Instead, use your imagination to create a movie in your mind. See the boat. Is it big or small? What color is the wood? See the lake. Is the sun shining on it? Can you see mountains in the background? The more detailed you can make your mental movie, the stronger the direct connection between the English words and the concepts they represent will become. Let's go back to our friend Kenji from Japan. Kenji loved reading, but he found reading in English to be incredibly slow and painful work. His process was this. He would read a sentence, identify the words he didn't know, look up each one in his Japanese-English dictionary, write down the Japanese meanings in a notebook, and then try to assemble the meaning of the English sentence from the translated parts. It was a mathematical, logical process. It took him an hour to get through just 2 or 3 pages. It was exhausting, and he wasn't enjoying it at all. He felt like he was decoding a secret message, not reading a story. Then, his teacher suggested a completely new approach. He told Kenji to buy a simple detective story, a graded reader at the B1 level. And he gave Kenji one new, very important rule. You are not allowed to use your dictionary at all during the first read-through of a chapter. He told Kenji, your only goal is to understand the main story. It is okay if you miss 20% of the words. Just try to follow what is happening. Kenji was very skeptical, but he decided to try. He started reading the detective novel. The story was about a private investigator in Chicago trying to find a missing diamond necklace. He focused on visualizing. He pictured the detective's dusty office. He pictured the rich woman who hired him. He pictured the dark, rainy streets of the city. He found that even though he didn't know every word, he could understand most of the story just from the context and the words he already knew. If the detective was suspicious, Kenji might not know that exact word, but he could understand from the rest of the paragraph that the detective didn't trust the rich woman's husband. This was a revelation for him. Reading became fun. It was a pleasure, not a task. He would read a whole chapter, completely absorbed in the story. After he had finished and he knew what happened, he would then go back and look up a few of the key words he didn't understand. This two-step method completely changed his relationship with reading in English. And because he was directly connecting the English sentences to the movie playing in his head, his brain was learning to process the language directly, bypassing the slow, clunky translation step. So, here is a practice prompt for you. Tonight or tomorrow, find a short article or a story in English online. Something that looks interesting to you. Read it through one time without stopping and without using a dictionary. Don't worry about the words you don't know. Just try to get the general meaning, the main idea. See what you can understand from context and visualization alone. You might be shocked at how much you can actually follow. Now we come to the part that is often the most feared, but is absolutely essential. Speaking. You cannot learn to think in English if you do not practice producing the language yourself. You can consume all the books, podcasts, and movies in the world. But to make the language truly your own, you have to speak it. Many learners are held back by a powerful fear, the fear of making mistakes. You worry that you will sound stupid, that people will laugh at you, or that you won't be able to find the right words. Please, let me tell you this with all the sincerity I can. Mistakes are not your enemy. They are not a sign of failure. Mistakes are your teachers. They are proof that you are trying, that you are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Every single time you make a mistake and someone corrects you, or you realize it and correct yourself, you are learning something profound. You are actively repairing and strengthening that English path in your brain. You must learn to embrace your mistakes as a beautiful, necessary part of the learning process. But the big question remains, what if I don't have anyone to talk to? Or also, this is a very real and common problem for millions of learners around the world. Well, I have a solution for you, and it's one that we touched on before, but I want to expand on it because it is just that powerful. The solution is to talk to yourself. Yes, talk to yourself out loud in English. When you are alone, in your car, in your room, while you're cooking. This is, without a doubt, one of the most effective techniques for developing fluency and the ability to think in English, because it removes all the pressure. There is no one listening. There is no one to judge you. You cannot make a mistake in front of anyone. You are free to experiment, to try, to fail, and to try again. Let me give you a much more detailed idea of how this can work in practice. You can become the narrator of your own life. Let's imagine you are at home in the morning, just starting your day. You can start a running commentary out loud. Okay, the alarm is ringing. It's 7 o'clock. I should really get out of bed now, but I'm feeling so tired today. Maybe just 5 more minutes. No, I have to get up. Okay, I'm getting up. I'm walking to the bathroom now. The floor is cold. I need to wash my face. The water is cool. It feels good. Now I need to brush my teeth. Where is my toothbrush? Ah, here it is. I am putting toothpaste on the brush. Let's follow the detailed story of a university student named Sophia from Brazil. She was studying engineering and knew that fluent English was essential for her future career, but she was incredibly shy. In her English conversation class, her heart would pound in her chest, and she would be so scared of saying something wrong that she usually just stayed silent. Her wise teacher noticed this and took her aside one day. She suggested that Sophia try talking to herself in English for at least 15 minutes every day. At first, Sophia felt completely ridiculous. She lived in a shared apartment, and she was worried her roommate would hear her and think she was crazy. So she would wait until her roommate was out, or she would talk very quietly, whispering to herself. She started small. She would describe what she was seeing as she walked to the university campus. I am walking down the main street now. The sun is shining today, which is nice. There are many cars and buses. That green car is driving very fast. I see a dog across the street. It's a small brown poodle. It's very cute. Now I am passing the library. There are many students going inside. It felt strange, but she kept at it. After a week, it started to feel a little more normal. She was getting better at finding the words to describe her surroundings. She then decided to take it to the next level. She started to narrate her thoughts and feelings too. I have a difficult exam tomorrow. I am feeling a little nervous about it. I need to study tonight. I hope I can remember everything. What should I eat for lunch? I'm feeling hungry. Maybe I'll go to the cafeteria. Slowly, this external monologue started to become an internal monologue. She found herself thinking these simple sentences in English without even trying. This simple private habit was her secret weapon. When it was time to speak in her English class, she found that the words and sentence structures were closer to the surface of her mind. She had been practicing forming sentences all day long. The connection between her thoughts and her spoken words was becoming faster and more direct. She was finally starting to break the translation habit. You can try this today. Pick one simple, routine activity. Maybe it's washing the dishes after a meal. As you do it, describe everything you're doing, feeling, and thinking out loud in English. Okay, time to wash the dishes. This plate is very dirty. I am turning on the hot water. I need more soap. I am scrubbing the plate now. I have to be careful not to break it. I enjoy listening to music when I do this. What song should I play? It doesn't have to be perfect or poetic. The goal is simply to get your brain into the habit of forming spontaneous English sentences. To take this a step further, you can use the voice recorder app on your phone. This is like being your own English coach. Choose a simple topic. For example, describe your favorite movie. Or, what are your plans for the weekend? Or, talk about a happy childhood memory. Set a timer for just 2 minutes. Press record and just speak. Don't stop, don't correct yourself, just keep talking until the timer goes off. Then, and this is the important part, listen back to the recording. It might feel a bit cringeworthy to hear your own voice, but this is an incredibly valuable exercise. You will notice things you could never notice while you were speaking. You might hear a grammar mistake you make repeatedly. Maybe you'll notice you pronounce a certain sound incorrectly. You might realize you use the same simple words over and over again. This is not a reason to be discouraged. This is fantastic, personalized feedback. The next day, you can try recording yourself again on the same topic, and this time, try to fix one of the mistakes you noticed. This cycle of speaking, reviewing, and retrying is one of the fastest ways to improve your active spoken English. Now, let's add another powerful speaking technique to your toolkit, one that is excellent for improving your pronunciation, rhythm, and flow. This technique is called shadowing. The idea is simple. You listen to a short audio clip of a native speaker and you try to speak at the exact same time, imitating them as closely as possible. You are their shadow. This isn't about understanding the meaning, it's about matching the music of the language. Let's return to Chloe, the young woman from France who was listening to podcasts on her train commute. She was getting much better at understanding, but she still felt that her own speaking was very flat and had a strong French accent. She read about shadowing online and decided to try it. She chose a 30-second clip from one of her favorite podcasts where the female host spoke clearly and at a moderate pace. The first time she tried it, it was a disaster. She put her headphones on, played the clip, and tried to speak along. The words felt like a jumble in her mouth. She couldn't keep up, and she felt incredibly silly, even though she was alone in her apartment. She almost gave up. But she remembered her breakthrough with listening, so she decided to make a plan. First, she just listened to the 30-second clip 5 times, without speaking. Then she found a transcript of the podcast and read the text out loud by herself, slowly. Finally, she was ready to try shadowing again. This time, she used an app that allowed her to slow down the audio to 75% speed. She played the slowed-down clip and spoke along. It was still difficult, but it was possible. She could feel how the speaker's voice would rise and fall. She noticed which words the speaker stressed. She practiced with that one slowed-down clip for 10 minutes. The next day, she tried it again at normal speed. It was so much easier. She practiced with that same 30-second clip every day for a week. By the end of the week, she could almost perfectly match the speaker's pace and intonation. She then chose a new clip and started the process again. After a month of doing this for just 10 minutes a day, she noticed a real change in her own speaking. It was smoother, more connected, and her rhythm sounded much more natural. Shadowing trained her mouth and her brain to produce the sounds of English in a way that just listening never could. Okay, let's zoom in on vocabulary. How do you learn new words in a way that truly helps you think in English, rather than just translating? As we discussed, many of us learn vocabulary by using a bilingual list or dictionary. We see the English word happy and we find the single word for it in our language. This creates a simple but problematic link. English word, native language word. This method actively encourages the habit of translation. We want to destroy that link and create a new, direct one. English word, meaning, concept, image, feeling. The best way to do this is to commit to using an English dictionary designed for learners, like the Oxford Learner's Dictionary or the Cambridge Dictionary online. When you encounter a new word you don't know, let's say the word enormous. Resist the urge to type it into a translator. Instead, look it up in a learner's dictionary. It will give you a simple, easy-to-understand definition in English, something like extremely large or very, very big. It doesn't use other complicated words. Then, crucially, it will give you several example sentences showing the word in context. He lived in an enormous house with 20 rooms. An elephant is an enormous animal. They made an enormous profit on the sale. Or stone. Now, in your mind, you are connecting the word enormous not to a single word in your language, but to the idea of something being exceptionally large, and you have clear examples of how to use it in a sentence. Let's imagine a learner named Omar from Egypt. Omar was a dedicated student and kept a vocabulary notebook. For a long time, his notebook was a simple 2-column list. The English word on the left, the Arabic word on the right. After learning this new method, he threw his old notebook away and started a brand new one. His new method was far more creative and effective. For each new word, he would dedicate a whole page. Let's say he learned the word exhausted. At the top of the page, he would write exhausted. Below it, he would write the simple English definition from his learner's dictionary: extremely tired. Then he would write down one of the example sentences from the dictionary. After that, he would write his own personal sentence, a sentence that was true for him, to make an emotional connection to the word. He wrote, "After studying for my final exams for 6 hours straight, I felt completely exhausted." Then he would look up synonyms, similar words, and antonyms, opposite words. Synonyms: tired, drained. Antonyms: energetic, refreshed. Finally, in the corner of the page, he would draw a tiny, simple picture: a stick figure lying on the ground with its tongue out. By doing all of this, Omar was connecting the new word to multiple anchors in his brain. An English definition, a contextual example, a personal memory and feeling, related English words, and a visual image. This multi-layered learning process made the words stick in his brain in a much deeper, more meaningful way. The next time he felt that feeling of being incredibly tired, the English word exhausted would naturally and instantly pop into his mind, without him needing to think of the Arabic word first and then translate. This is how you build a rich, directly accessible English vocabulary. Now, let's add another layer to this idea of vocabulary. Learning single words is good, but the real secret to sounding fluent is learning chunks. What is a chunk? A chunk is a group of words that native speakers often use together. It's a phrase, a collocation, or a common expression. Think about it. When a native speaker talks, they are not picking one word at a time and sticking them together with grammar. They are pulling ready-made phrases from their memory. Let me introduce you to a student named Jin from South Korea. Jin was brilliant. He had an enormous vocabulary, and he knew every grammar rule in the book. When he wrote in English, it was almost perfect. But when he spoke, he was incredibly slow. You could almost see the wheels turning in his head as he carefully selected each word and constructed the sentence. His teacher introduced him to the idea of chunking. She explained that instead of learning the word suggest, he should learn the chunk. I suggest we. Instead of learning the word depends, he should learn the chunk it depends on. Jin was a systematic learner, so he started a new chunk notebook. He would listen to podcasts like this one, and his only goal was to find and write down common chunks. He wrote down things like, by the way, on the other hand, I'm looking forward to be honest, as far as I know, I see what you mean. He didn't analyze the grammar of these chunks. He just memorized them as if they were single vocabulary items. Then, he started to practice using them. When talking to himself, he would consciously try to insert these chunks. Instead of thinking, my opinion is that this is a good idea, he would practice saying, to be honest, I think it's a good idea, instead of saying, the price is reliant on the quality. He would practice, the price depends on the quality. Over a few months, this had a revolutionary effect on his speaking. Because his brain didn't have to build every sentence from zero, his speaking speed increased dramatically. He sounded more natural, more fluent. He was no longer a human grammar machine. He was becoming a real communicator. Learning to think in chunks, not just words, is a vital step toward thinking in English. All of these techniques we've discussed, deep immersion, passive and active listening, reading for visualization, speaking to yourself, shadowing, and learning in chunks. They all work together to build a powerful new habit in your brain. The final crowning piece of the puzzle is to make a conscious, deliberate effort to think in very simple English sentences throughout your day. This is the internal monologue that we talked about with Sophia, but it is something you can practice and develop intentionally. It can start incredibly small. You don't have to try to think about complex philosophical ideas in English from day one. Start with the simple things, the immediate things. When you're standing in a queue at the supermarket, instead of letting your mind wander in your native language, take control and use it as a practice session. Just observe things around you in English in your head. Okay, that woman has a lot of vegetables in her cart. She must be very healthy. The man in front of me is buying a lot of ice cream. I wonder which flavor it is. I need to remember to buy milk and bread. The line is moving very slowly. I'm getting a little bored. These are simple, low-pressure thoughts. There is no one to judge your grammar. It's a safe space inside your own mind to just play with the language. Let's think about a man named David, the successful businessman from Germany in his late 40s. He spoke English well for his work, but he always felt like he was performing. He was constantly translating from his very structured German brain, and it was exhausting. He wanted to feel more relaxed and natural. His teacher gave him this very specific task. Start with just 5 minutes a day. He set a timer on his phone for 5 minutes, 3 times a day. During those 5 minutes, his only job was to try to think exclusively in English. No German allowed. He told me the first week was a real battle. It was incredibly difficult. His brain, so used to its comfortable German highway, would automatically produce a German thought. He would catch himself, and without any self-criticism, he would gently guide his thoughts back to English. He'd think, okay, what am I doing right now? I am sitting at my desk. I am looking at my computer screen. There are many emails in my inbox. I have a big meeting at 3 p.m. today. I need to prepare my presentation for it. He said those first 5-minute sessions felt like an hour. It required intense concentration. But he was persistent. He treated it like a mental exercise, a bicep curl for his brain. In the second week, it felt a little bit easier. The English thoughts came a bit more smoothly. After a month of this consistent practice, he increased it to 10 minutes. He found that these short, focused thinking sessions were like a workout that was making the English path in his brain stronger and more accessible. Over time, something amazing happened. He found he didn't need the timer anymore. He would be driving home from work, and he would spontaneously think, "Oh, the traffic is really heavy today. I might be late." Das, in English, without even trying. He would be in a meeting, listening to a colleague, and find himself forming his response directly in English in his head, rather than formulating it in German first. That's when he knew, with a deep sense of accomplishment, that it was finally working. You can combine this intentional practice with your everyday decision-making. When you are deciding what to wear in the morning, have the debate in your head in English. The weather forecast says it will be sunny, but a little cool. Should I wear a sweater or a jacket? I think I'll wear the blue sweater. It goes well with these trousers. When you are planning your weekend, do it in English. Okay, on Saturday morning, I need to go to the supermarket. Then, in the afternoon, I want to meet my friends. On Sunday, I just want to relax, maybe watch a movie and read my book. By using English for these mundane, everyday internal processes, you are making it a functional and necessary tool for your brain, not just an academic subject you study from a book. Through all of this, it is incredibly important to be patient, compassionate, and kind to yourself. Learning to think in a completely different language is a huge cognitive achievement. It is not a simple or easy process. There will be days when you feel on top of the world, when the words flow easily. And there will be days when you feel like you are stuck, when you can't find the simplest of words, and you feel like you are not making any progress at all. There will be days when your brain feels tired, and you just want the comfort and ease of your native language. And that is perfectly, 100% okay. Now, let's talk about that feeling of being stuck for a moment. This is something almost every language learner experiences, especially at the intermediate level. It's called the learning plateau. It's that frustrating feeling when you've been studying hard and making good progress, and then suddenly, you feel like you've stopped improving. You're not getting worse, but you don't feel like you're getting any better either. It can be very discouraging. Let's check in with David, our German businessman, again. After about a year of steady practice, he hit a plateau. His English was good for work, but he felt like it hadn't improved in months. He was using the same vocabulary, the same sentence structures. He was bored with his routine of listening to news podcasts and doing his thinking exercises. He felt stuck. He almost accepted that this was his final level. But then he spoke with his teacher, who explained the plateau and gave him some crucial advice. When your progress stalls, you need to change your routine. You need to shock your brain with a new kind of challenge. Think of it like going to the gym. If you only ever do one type of exercise, your muscles get used to it and stop growing. To get stronger, you need to try new exercises that challenge your body in different ways. So David decided to find a new challenge. He loved reading, so he searched online and found an international English-speaking book club that met on Zoom once a month. The idea terrified him. This wasn't a language class. It was for native speakers who loved literature. He was sure he would sound foolish. But he remembered the importance of facing his fears. He joined. The first book they read was a modern novel with complex themes. It was the most difficult thing he had ever read in English. He had to read it slowly, with his dictionary by his side. But he did it. Then came the meeting. He was so nervous he almost didn't log in. But he did. He listened for the first hour, just trying to follow the fast-paced, intellectual conversation. Then, the host asked him a direct question about a character. His heart pounded, but he took a deep breath and he answered. He spoke for maybe 2 minutes. It wasn't perfect, but he expressed his idea. And the other members listened and responded thoughtfully. It was a huge moment for him. This new, high-level challenge shocked his brain out of its comfortable routine. He was exposed to new vocabulary, complex ideas, and the natural flow of intellectual debate. It was exactly what he needed to break through his plateau and start climbing again. So, if you ever feel stuck, do not despair. It is a normal part of the journey. See it as a signal from your brain that it's time for a new adventure. Change your method. If you only listen to podcasts, try watching a challenging movie. If you only read articles, try writing a short story. If you only talk to yourself, find a language partner online. A new challenge is the key to reaching the next level. This is not about being perfect. This is not a race. It's about consistency. A little bit of practice every day, even just 15 or 20 minutes, is infinitely more effective than one long, stressful 6-hour study session once a week. Think of it like building a magnificent house, brick by brick. Every time you change your phone's language setting, you are carefully laying one brick. Every time you listen to an English podcast on your way to work, you are laying another perfect brick. Every time you label your coffee machine, you lay a brick. Every time you read a chapter of a book without a dictionary, you lay a brick. Every time you talk to yourself in the mirror, you lay another. Each action on its own might seem small, simple, and insignificant. You might not see the results immediately, but over weeks and months, all of those bricks come together, cemented by your consistency, to build a strong, beautiful, and enduring house. Your English-thinking brain is that house, and you are the architect and the builder. Let's go back one last time to the wonderful characters from our stories today. Marco from Italy with his phone, Anya from Poland with her sticky notes, Chloe from France on her train, Kenji from Japan with his detective novel, Sophia from Brazil narrating her daily walks, Omar from Egypt with his creative vocabulary notebook, Jin from Korea with his chunk notebook, and David from Germany with his book club. They all come from different countries, have different jobs, and different personalities. But they share one powerful thing in common. They made small, consistent efforts every single day. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They didn't wait until they had enough money to travel. They started right where they were with the tools they had available to them. And slowly, patiently, brick by brick, they reshaped the way their brains worked. They built that new, wide, clear, and beautiful path for English in their minds. And then, one day, after all that consistent effort, something magical happens. It might happen when you least expect it. You might be watching an English movie without any subtitles, and you get to the end and realize, with a jolt of surprise, that you understood almost everything. You might be in a conversation with a native speaker, and you talk for 30 minutes, and only afterwards do you realize that you weren't translating at all. You were just communicating. Or, like so many dedicated learners have experienced, you might wake up one morning and realize, with a smile, that you just had your very first dream entirely in English. That is a truly amazing and profound sign that the language is no longer just something you study, but has become a deep, living, and natural part of your subconscious mind. So, my challenge to you, after listening to this very long and detailed episode, is to not feel overwhelmed. It is to choose just one. Just one of the techniques we talked about today, and commit to starting it tomorrow. Maybe you'll change your phone language. Maybe you'll find one podcast to listen to on your way to work. Maybe you'll try the shadowing technique for just 5 minutes with a clip from this podcast. Whatever you choose, be consistent with it for 1 week. Just 7 days. See how it feels. Notice the small changes. Learning a language is an incredible journey, and every epic journey begins with one single brave step. You can take that step today. We have covered so much ground in this episode, from creating a deep immersion environment to the very specific practical techniques for practicing thinking, listening, reading, and speaking. The central message, the golden thread that runs through it all is this. By making English a regular, welcome, and enjoyable part of your everyday life in small, manageable ways, you slowly and surely shift your brain's dependence on your native language. You build a new system, a new network of neural connections that allows you to process the world, your thoughts, and your feelings directly through the beautiful English language. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes consistency, but it is absolutely, without a doubt, possible. You have the ability to do it. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today, here on Best English Podcast. I truly hope you feel inspired, motivated, and equipped with new practical ideas to try on your English learning journey. The power to change the way you think is literally inside your own head. If you found this detailed episode helpful, please consider subscribing to the podcast so you won't miss our future episodes where we dive deep into other important topics. And to make sure you are the first to know when a new lesson is ready for you to enjoy, be sure to find that subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell. It really helps our channel grow and allows us to continue bringing you valuable, in-depth content like this. Keep practicing, stay curious, and most importantly, be patient and kind with your progress. You are doing a wonderful job. I'm your host, Sophia, and I look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Goodbye for now.